Matthew chapter 24. And Yeshua went out and departed from the temple, and his disciples came to him to show him the buildings of the temple. And Yeshua said to them, Do you not see all these things? Truly I say to you, there shall not be left here one stone upon another that shall not be thrown down. And as he sat upon the Mount of Olives, the disciples came to him privately, saying, Tell us, when will these things be? And what shall be the sign of your coming and of the end of the world? And Yeshua answered and said to them, Take heed that no man deceive you. For many shall come in my name, saying, I am the Messiah, and shall deceive many. And you shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that you be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. For nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom, and there shall be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows. Then shall they deliver you up to be afflicted, and shall kill you, and you shall be hated of all nations for my name's sake. And then shall many be offended, and shall betray one another, and shall hate one another. And many false prophets shall rise, and shall deceive many. And because iniquity shall abound, the love of many shall wax cold. But he that shall endure to the end, the same shall be saved. And this good news of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness to all nations, and then shall the end come. When you therefore shall see the abomination of desolation spoken of by Daniel the prophet stand in the holy place, whoso reads, let him understand. Then let them which be in Judea flee to the mountains. Let him which is on the housetop not come down to take anything out of his house, neither let him which is in the field return back to take his clothes. And woe to them that are with child, and to them that give suck in those days. But pray you that your flight might not be in the winter, neither on the Sabbath day. For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time, no, nor shall ever be. And except those days should be shortened, there should be no flesh saved. But for the elect's sake those days shall be shortened. Then if any man shall say to you, Oh, here's the Messiah, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false messiahs and false prophets, and shall show great signs and wonders, insomuch that, if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before. Wherefore, if they shall say to you, Behold, he is in the desert, do not go forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. For as the lightning comes out of the east, and shines even to the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will be the eagles gathered together. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great majesty. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. Now, learn a parable of the fig tree. When his branch is yet tender and puts forth leaves, you know that summer is near. So likewise, you, when you shall see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. Truly I say to you, this generation shall not pass, till all these things be fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. But of that day and hour knows no man, no, not the angel of heaven, but my Father only. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. For as in the days that were before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, until the day that Noah entered into the ark, and knew not until the flood came, and took them all away, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Then two shall be in the field, the one shall be taken, the other left. 2 women shall be grinding at the mill, the one shall be taken, the other left. Watch therefore, for you do not know what hour your master does come. But know this, that if the sovereign of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched, and would not have suffered his house to be broken into. Therefore be also ready, for in such an hour as you do not think the Son of Man comes. Who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his master has made ruler over his household, to give them meat in due season? Blessed is that servant, whom his master, when he comes, shall find so doing. Truly I say to you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods. But if that evil servant shall say in his heart, My master delays his coming, and shall begin to smite his fellow servants, and to eat and drink with the drunken, the master of that servant shall come in a day when he does not look for him, and in an hour that he is not aware of, and shall cut him asunder, and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites, and there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. End of chapter. Titus, chapter 3. Put them in mind to be subject to principalities and powers, to obey magistrates, to be ready to every good work, to speak evil of no man, to be not brawlers, but gentle, showing all meekness to all men. For we ourselves also were sometimes foolish, disobedient, deceived, serving diverse lusts and pleasures, living in malice and envy, and hateful, and hating one another. But after that the kindness and love of Yahweh, our Savior, toward man appeared, not by works of righteousness which we have done, but according to his mercy he saved us, by the washing of regeneration and renewing of the Holy Spirit, which he shed on us abundantly through Yeshua, the Messiah, our Savior, that being justified by his grace, we should be made heirs according to the hope of eternal life. This is a faithful saying, and these things I will that you affirm constantly, that they which have believed in Yahweh might be careful to maintain good works. These things are good and profitable to men. But avoid foolish questions, and arguments about genealogies, and contentions and strivings about the law, for they are unprofitable and vain. A man that is divisive after the first and second admonition, reject, knowing that he that is such is subverted and sins, being condemned of himself. When I shall send Artemas to you, or Tychicus, be diligent to come to me to Nicopolis, for I have determined there to winter. Bring Zenas, the lawyer, and Apollos on their journey diligently, that nothing be wanting to them. And let ours also learn to maintain good works for necessary use, they be not unfruitful. All that are with me salute you. Greet them that love us in the faith. Grace be with you all. End of chapter. Revelation, chapter 21. And I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth were passed away, and there was no more sea. And I, John, saw the holy city, New Jerusalem, coming down from Yahweh out of heaven, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a great voice out of heaven, saying, The tabernacle of Elohim is with men, and he will dwell with them, and they shall be his people, and Yahweh himself shall be with them, and be their Elohim. And he shall wipe away all tears from their eyes, and there shall be no more death, neither sorrow nor crying, neither shall there be any more pain. For the former things are passed away. And he that sat upon the throne said, I make all things new. And he said unto me, Write, for these words are true and faithful. And he said unto me, It is done. I am Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end. I will give unto him that is athirst of the fountain of water of life freely. He that overcomes shall inherit all things, and I will be his Elohim, and he shall be my son. But the fearful and unbelieving, the abominable, and murderers, and whoremongers, and sorcerers, and idolaters, and all liars, shall have their part in the lake which burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death.
And there came unto me one of the 7 angels, which had the 7 vials full of the last 7 plagues, and talked with me, saying, Come here, I will show you the bride, the Lamb's wife. And he carried me away in the Spirit to a great and high mountain, and showed me that great city, the holy Jerusalem, descending out of heaven from Yahweh, having the splendor of Yahweh. And her light was like unto a stone most precious, even like a jasper stone, clear as crystal, and had a wall great and high, and had 12 gates, and at the gates 12 angels, and names written thereon, which are the names of the 12 tribes of the children of Israel. On the east 3 gates, on the north 3 gates, on the south 3 gates, and on the west 3 gates. And the wall of the city had 12 foundations, and in them the names of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. And he that talked with me had a golden reed to measure the city, and the gates thereof, and the wall thereof. And the city lies foursquare, and the length is as large as the breadth. And he that measured the city with the reed 12,000 furlongs. The length and the breadth and the height of it are equal. And he measured the wall thereof 144 cubits, according to the measure of a man, that is, of the angel. And the building of the wall of it was of jasper, and the city was pure gold, like unto clear glass. And the foundations of the wall of the city were garnished with all manner of precious stones. The first foundation was jasper, the second sapphire, the third a chalcedony, the fourth an emerald, the fifth sardonyx, the sixth sardius, the seventh chrysolite, the eighth beryl, the ninth a topaz, the 10th a chrysoprasus, the 11th a jacinth, the 12th an amethyst. And the 12 gates were 12 pearls. Every gate was of 1 pearl. And the street of the city was pure gold, as it were transparent glass. And I saw no temple therein, for Yahweh El Shaddai and the Lamb are the temple of it. And the city had no need of the sun, neither of the moon to shine in it, for the splendor of Yahweh did lighten it, and the Lamb is the light thereof. And the nations of them which are saved shall walk in the light of it, and the kings of the earth do bring their praise and honor into it. And the gates of it shall not be shut at all by day, for there shall be no night there. And they shall bring the praise and honor of the nations into it. And there shall in no wise enter into it anything that defiles, neither works abomination or a lie, but they which are written in the Lamb's book of life. End of chapter.
Sing hallelujah to Yahweh. Sing hallelujah to Yahweh. Sing hallelujah. Sing hallelujah. Sing hallelujah. Yahweh. Yahshua is coming back again. Yahshua is coming. Yahshua is coming. Yahshua is coming back again. Back again. Praise him that rideth on the cloud. Praise him that rideth on the cloud. Praise him that rideth. Praise him that rideth. Praise him that rideth on the cloud. On the cloud. We exalt you, Yahweh. We will sing for the honor due your name. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We worship you, Yahweh. Oh, hallelujah.
The Book of James, Chapter 1. Jacob, a servant of Yahweh and of the Master Yahshua the Messiah, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting. My brethren, count it all joy when you fall into diverse temptations, knowing that the trying of your faith works patience. But let patience have her perfect work, that you may be perfect and entire, wanting nothing. If any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of Yahweh, that gives to all liberally, and upbraids not, and it shall be given him. But let him ask in faith, nothing wavering. For he that wavers is like a wave of the sea, driven with the wind and tossed. For let not that man think that he shall receive anything of the sovereign. A double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. Let the brother of low degree rejoice in that he is exalted, but the rich in that he is made low, because as the flower of the grass he shall pass away. For the sun is no sooner risen with a burning heat, but it withers the grass, and the flower thereof falls, and the grace of the fashion of it perishes. So also shall the rich man fade away in his ways. Blessed is the man that endures temptation, for when he is tried, he shall receive the crown of life, which Yahweh has promised to them that love him. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of Yahweh. For Yahweh cannot be tempted with evil, neither does he tempt any man. But every man is tempted when he is drawn away of his own lust and enticed. Then when lust has conceived, it brings forth sin, and sin, when it is finished, brings forth death. Do not err, my beloved brothers. Every good gift and every perfect gift is from above, and comes down from the Father of lights, with whom is no variableness, neither shadow of turning. Of his own will begat he us with the word of truth, that we should be a kind of first fruits of his creatures. Wherefore, my beloved brethren, let every man be swift to hear, slow to speak, slow to wrath. For the wrath of man works not the righteousness of Yahweh. Wherefore, put away all filthiness and abundance of evil, and receive with meekness the engrafted word, which is able to save your souls. But be doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own selves. For if any be a hearer of the word, and not a doer, he's like unto a man beholding his natural face in a glass. For he sees himself, and goes his way, and straightway forgets what manner of man he was. But whoso looks into the perfect law of liberty, and continues,
He being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed. If any man among you seem to be religious, and bridle not his tongue, but deceives his own heart, this man's religion is vain. Pure religion, and undefiled before Yahweh and the Father, is this: to visit the fatherless and widows in their affliction, to keep himself unspotted from the world. End of chapter. Genesis chapter 22. And it came to pass after these things that Yahweh did tempt Abraham, and said to him, Abraham. And he said, Here I am. And he said, Take now your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and get you into the land of Moriah, and offer him there for a burnt offering upon one of the mountains which I will tell you of. And Abraham rose up early in the morning, and saddled his donkey, and took 2 of his young men with him, and Isaac his son, and chopped the wood for the burnt offering, and rose up and went into the place of which Yahweh had told him. And then on the 3rd day Abraham lifted up his eyes and saw the place afar off. And Abraham said to his young man, Stay here with the donkey, and I and the lad will go yonder and worship and come again to you. And Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering, and laid it upon Isaac his son, and he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and they went both of them together. And Isaac spoke to Abraham his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I, my son. And he said, Behold the fire and the wood, but where's the lamb for a burnt offering? And Abraham said, My son, Yahweh will provide himself a lamb for a burnt offering. And so they went both of them together. And they came to the place of which Yahweh had told him of. And Abraham built an altar there, and laid the wood in order, and bound Isaac his son, and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched forth his hand, and took the knife to slay his son. And the messenger of Yahweh called to him out of heaven, and said, Abraham, Abraham! And he said, Here I am. And he said, Lay not your hand upon the lad, neither do you anything to him. For now I know that you fear Yahweh, seeing you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold, behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. And Abraham went and took the ram, and offered him up for a burnt offering instead of his son. And Abraham called the name of that place Yahweh Yireh, as it is said to this day, In the mount of Yahweh it shall be seen. And the angel of Yahweh called to Abraham out of heaven the 2nd time, and said, By myself have I sworn, says Yahweh, for because you have done this thing, and have not withheld your son, your only son, that in blessing I will bless you, and in multiplying I will multiply your seed as the stars of the heaven, and as the sand which is upon the seashore, and your seed shall possess the gate of his enemies. And in your seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice. So Abraham returned to his young men, and they rose up and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. And it came to pass after these things that it was told Abraham, saying, Behold, Milcah, she has also borne children to your brother Nahor, Huz, his firstborn, and Buz, his brother, and Kemuel, the father of Aram, and Chesed, and Hazo, and Pildash, and Jileph, and Bethuel. And Bethuel begat Rebekah. These 8 Milcah did bear to Nahor, Abraham's brother. And his concubine, whose name was Reumah, she also bore Tebah, and Gahem, and Thahash, and Maacah. End of chapter.
Exodus chapter 16. And they took their journey from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came into the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the 2nd month after their departing out of the land of Egypt. And the whole congregation of the children of Israel murmured against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said to them, Would that we had died by the hand of Yahweh in the land of Egypt, where we sat by the flesh pots, and when we did eat bread to the full. For you have brought us forth to this wilderness, and to kill this whole assembly with hunger. And then said Yahweh to Moses,
Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you, and the people shall go out and gather a certain rate every day, that I may prove them, whether they will walk in my law or not. And it shall come to pass that on the 6th day they shall prepare that which they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily. And Moses and Aaron said to all the children of Israel, At evening, then you shall know that Yahweh has brought you out from the land of Egypt. And in the morning, then you shall see the splendor of Yahweh, for that he hears your murmurings against him. And what are we that you murmur against us? And Moses said, This shall be, when Yahweh shall give you in the evening flesh to eat, and in the morning bread to the full. For Yahweh hears your murmurings, which you murmur against him. And what are we? Your murmurings are not against us, but against Yahweh. And Moses spoke to Aaron, Say to all the congregation of the children of Israel, Come near before Yahweh, for he has heard your murmurings. And it came to pass, as Aaron spoke to the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the splendor of Yahweh appeared in the cloud. And Yahweh spoke to Moses, saying, I have heard the murmurings of the children of Israel. Speak to them, saying, In the evenings you shall eat flesh, and in the morning you shall be filled with bread, and you shall know that I am Yahweh your Elohim. And it came to pass that at evening the quails came up and covered the camp. And in the morning the dew lay round about the host. And when the dew that lay was gone up, behold, upon the face of the wilderness there lay a small round thing, as small as the hoarfrost on the ground. And when the children of Israel saw, they said one to another, It is manna, for they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, This is the bread which Yahweh has given you to eat. This is the thing which Yahweh has commanded. Gather of it every man according to his eating, an omer for every man, according to the number of your persons. Take you every man for them which are in his tents. And the children of Israel did so, and gathered, some more, some less. And when they did measure it with an omer, he that gathered much had nothing over, and he that had gathered little had no lack. They gathered every man according to his eating. And Moses said, Let no man leave of it till the morning. Nevertheless they did not listen to Moses, but some of them left of it until the morning, and it bred worms and stank, and Moses was angry with them. And they gathered it every morning, every man according to his eating. And when the sun grew hot, it melted. And it came to pass that on the 6th day they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for one man. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. And he said to them, This is that which Yahweh has said. Tomorrow is the rest of the holy Sabbath to Yahweh. Bake that which you will bake today, and boil what you will boil, and that which remains over lay up for you to be kept until the morning. And they laid it up till the morning, as Moses bid them. And it did not stink, neither was there any worm in it. And Moses said, Eat that today, for today is a Sabbath to Yahweh. Today you shall not find it in the field. 6 days you shall gather. But on the 7th day, the Sabbath, in it there shall be none. And it came to pass, there went out some of the people on the 7th day to gather, and they found none. And Yahweh said to Moses, How long do you refuse to keep my commandments and my laws? See, for that Yahweh has given you the Sabbath. Therefore he gives you on the 6th day the bread of 2 days. Abide you, every man in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the 7th day. And so the people rested on the 7th day. And the house of Israel called the name of it manna. And it was like coriander seed, white. And the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. And Moses said, This is the thing which Yahweh commands. Fill an omer of it to be kept for your generations, that you may see the bread wherewith I have fed you in the wilderness, when I brought you forth from the land of Egypt. And Moses said to Aaron, Take a pot, and put an omer full of manna in it, and lay it up before Yahweh, to be kept for your generations. As Yahweh commanded Moses, so Aaron laid it up before the testimony, to be kept. And the children of Israel did eat manna 40 years, till they came to a land inhabited. They did eat manna until they came to the borders of the land of Canaan. Now an omer is the 10th part of an ephah. End of chapter.
Judges chapter 3. Now these are the nations which Yahweh left, to test Israel with them, even as many of Israel as had not known all the wars of Canaan, only that the generations of the children of Israel might know, to teach them war, at the least such as before knew nothing of it, namely, 5 tyrants of the Philistines, and all the Canaanites, and the Sidonians, and the Hivites that dwelt in Mount Lebanon, from Mount Baal Hermon to the entering in of Hamath. And they were to prove Israel by them, to know whether they would listen to the commandments of Yahweh, which he commanded their fathers by the hand of Moses. And the children of Israel dwelt among the Canaanites, Hittites, and Amorites, the Perizzites, and Hivites, and Jebusites, and they took their daughters to be their wives, and gave their daughters to their sons, and served their Elohim. And the children of Israel did evil in the sight of Yahweh, and forgot Yahweh their Elohim, and served Baalim and the groves. For this reason the anger of Yahweh was hot against Israel, and he sold them into the hand of Shushan-Rishathaim, king of Mesopotamia. And the children of Israel served Shushan-Rishathaim 8 years. And when the children of Israel cried to Yahweh, Yahweh raised up a deliverer to the children of Israel, who delivered them, Othniel, the son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother. And the Spirit of Yahweh came upon him, and he judged Israel, and went out to war. And Yahweh delivered Shushan-Rishathaim, king of Mesopotamia, into his hand, and his hand prevailed against Shushan-Rishathaim. And the land had rest for 40 years, and Othniel, the son of Kenaz, died. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of Yahweh, and Yahweh strengthened Eglon, the king of Moab, against Israel, because they had done evil in the sight of Yahweh. And he gathered to him the children of Ammon and Amalek, and went and smote Israel, and possessed the city of palm trees. So the children of Israel served Eglon, the king of Moab, 18 years. But when the children of Israel cried to Yahweh, Yahweh raised them up a deliverer, Ehud, the son of Gera, a Benjamite, a man left-handed, and by him the children of Israel sent a present to Eglon, the king of Moab. But Ehud made him a dagger, which had 2 edges, of a cubit in length, and he did gird it under his clothing upon his right thigh. And he brought the present to Eglon, king of Moab. And Eglon was a very fat man. And when he had made an end to offer the present, he sent away the people that bore the present. But he himself turned again from the quarries that were near Gilgal, and said, I have a secret errand to you, O king. Who said, Keep silence. And all that stood near him went out away from him. And Ehud came to him, and he was sitting in a summer parlor, which he had for himself alone. And Ehud said, I have a message from Yahweh to you. And he arose out of his seat, and Ehud put forth his left hand, and took the dagger from his right thigh, and thrust it into his belly. And the haft also went in after the blade, and the fat closed upon the blade, so that he could not draw the dagger out of his belly, and dirt came out. And Ehud went forth through the porch, and shut the doors of the parlor upon him, and locked them. And when he was gone out, his servants came, and when they saw that, behold, the doors of the parlor were locked, they said, Surely he covers his feet in his summer chamber. And they stayed until they were ashamed, and behold, he did not open the doors of the parlor, and for this reason they took a key, and opened, and behold, the king was fallen down dead on the earth. And Ehud escaped while they stayed, and passed beyond the quarries, and escaped into Seirath. And it came to pass, when he was come, that he blew a trumpet in the mountain of Ephraim, and the children of Israel went down with him from the mountain, and he in front of them. And he said to them, Follow after me, for Yahweh has delivered your enemies, the Moabites, into your hand. And they went down after him, and took the fjords of Jordan toward Moab, and did not suffer a man to pass over. And they slew of Moab at that time about 10,000 men, all lusty and all men of valor, and there did not escape one man. So Moab was subdued that day under the hand of Israel. And the land had rest 80 years, and after him was Shamgar, the son of Anath, who slew of the Philistines 600 men with an ox goad, and he also delivered Israel. End of chapter.
Daniel chapter 1.
In the 3rd year of the reign of Jehoiakim, king of Yehuda, came Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, to Jerusalem, and he besieged it. And Yahweh gave Jehoiakim, king of Yehuda, into his hand, with part of the vessels of the house of our Elohim, which he carried into the land of Shinar to the house of his Elohim, and he brought the vessels into the treasure house of his Elohim. And the king spoke to Ashpenaz, the master of his eunuchs, so that he should bring certain of the children of Israel, and of the king's seed, and of the princes, children in whom was no blemish, but who were instead well favored and skillful in all wisdom, and cunning in knowledge, and understanding science, and such as had ability in them to stand in the king's palace, and whom they might teach the learning in the tongue of the Chaldeans. And the king appointed them a daily provision of the king's food, and of the wine which he drank, so nourishing them 3 years, so that at the end of that time they might stand before the king. Now among these were the children of Yehuda, Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, unto whom the prince of the eunuchs gave names, for he gave to Daniel the name of Belteshazzar, and to Hananiah of Shadrach, and to Mishael of Meshach, and to Azariah of Abednego. But Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with the portion of the king's food, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested from the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Now our Elohim had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs. And the prince of the eunuchs said to Daniel, I fear my master the king, who has appointed your food and your drink. For why should he see your faces worse liking than the children which are of your sort? Then will you make me endanger my head to the king. Then Daniel said to Melzar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, Test your servants, I beg you, 10 days, and let them give us vegetables to eat and water to drink. And then let our countenances be looked upon before you, and the countenance of the children that eat of the portion of the king's food. And as you see, deal with your servants. And so he consented to them in this matter, and tested them for 10 days. And at the end of the 10 days, their countenance appeared fairer, and fatter in flesh than all the children who did eat the portion of the king's food. So Melzar took away the portion of their food, and the wine that they should drink, and gave them vegetables. And as for these 4 children, our Elohim gave them knowledge and skill in all learning and wisdom, and Daniel had understanding in all visions and dreams. Now at the end of the days that the king had said that he should bring them in, then the prince of the eunuchs brought them in before Nebuchadnezzar. And the king communed with them, and among them all was found none like Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, and so for this reason they stood before the king. And in all matters of wisdom and understanding that the king inquired of them, he found them 10 times better than all the magicians and astrologers that were in all his realm. And Daniel continued until the 1st year of King Cyrus. End of chapter.
Second Corinthians chapter 13. This is the 3rd time I am coming unto you. In the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses shall every word be established. I told you before, and tell you beforehand, as if I were present the 2nd time. And being absent now, I write to them which have sinned before, and to all others that, if I come again, I will not spare. Since ye seek a proof of the Messiah speaking in me, which toward you is not weak, but is mighty in you, for even if he was executed through weakness, yet he lives by the power of Yahweh, for we also are weak in him. But we shall live with him by the power of Yahweh toward you. Examine yourselves, whether you be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know you not your own selves, how that Yeshua the Messiah is in you, except you be reprobates? But I trust that you shall know that we are not reprobates. Now I pray to Yahweh that you do no evil, not that we should appear approved, but that you should do that which is honest, though we be as reprobates. For we can do nothing against the truth, but for the truth.
For we are glad when we are weak and you are strong. And this also we wish, even your perfection. Therefore, I write these things being absent, lest, being present, I should use sharpness, according to the power which the Master has given me to edification, and not to destruction. Finally, brethren, farewell. Be perfect, be of good comfort, be of one mind, live in peace, and the Elohim of love and peace shall be with you. Greet one another with a holy kiss. All the saints salute you. The grace of the Master Yeshua the Messiah, and the love of Yahweh, and the fellowship of the Holy Spirit be with you all. Amen. End of chapter.
I can do all things in Yeshua who gives me strength. But sometimes I wonder what he can do through me. No great success to show, no honor of mine own, yet in my weakness he is there to let me know. His strength is perfect when our strength is gone. He'll carry us when we can't carry on. Raised in this power, though we become strong. His strength is perfect. His strength is perfect. We can only know the power that he holds when we truly see how deep our weakness goes. His strength in us began when ours come to an end. He hears a humble cry and proves again. His strength is perfect when our strength is gone. He'll carry us when we can't carry on. Raised in his power, though we become strong. His strength is perfect. His strength is perfect. Raised in his power, the weak become strong. His strength is perfect. His strength is perfect. His strength is perfect when our strength is gone. He'll carry us when we can't carry on. Raised in his power, though we become strong. His strength strength is perfect. His strength is perfect.
Do bless Yahweh for all things.